Hey guys, welcome to my Morgana guide, Morgana the Fallen Angel. Now, to start off, I'm going to start by explaining what Morgana's skills and abilities do. So to start off with, it will be her passive. Her passive gives her spell vamp. Her spell vamp increases I think it's per level, and it caps out at 35%. This is one of the more useful passive abilities, as it allows her to stay in lane a lot longer than most champions, and it also makes her a great mid. Next up's her Q ability. Her Q ability is Dark Binding. Dark Binding fires a bolt of dark energy towards a target and binds them. If it hits them, if it connects, it will deal between 80 damage and 300 damage, depending on what level it is. This ability is also a snare, and it will snare the opponent for between 2 seconds and 3 seconds, also depending on what level it is. The AP scales with this ability quite well, and so you can, if you decide to go all AP, you will be doing a lot of damage. Her next ability is her W ability. It's called Tormented Soil, and it curses a large area of the ground, so it's a sort of area of effect ability, and will damage the enemies if they stand on the soil for between 25 damage and 85 damage per second, and will also cause them to lose between 4 and 8 magic resistance for each second they stand on it. The AP doesn't scale as well with Tormented Soil, but as it does damage per second, it all adds up eventually. So it's an amazing skill, especially for taking out minions. Her next skill, her E ability, is called Black Shield. What it does is it places a shield around a friendly champion or yourself and absorbs the next between 100 and 300 magic damage. The AP with this scales brilliantly, and so against AP nukers such as Annie or Rise, this is a beast of a skill, and it will just shut them down if you can place it correctly at the right times. So another bonus to this is what it does is it will prevent any kind of stun, snare, slow, those kinds of things from taking effect on the casted champion, and it will last between 4 and 8 seconds, this shield will, until it has been depleted. Lastly, it's her Soul Shackle skill, which is her ultimate. This ultimate will deal between 175, 250 or 350 damage based on what level it is. The AP scales brilliantly with this skill as well, and it will deal significant amount of damage for a mage support kind of character. So what this skill will do is it will deal this applied damage, and it will slow the champion by 20% for 4 seconds. If you can keep the soul shackles on that target champion or the champion surrounding, then it will cast and hit an additional 350 damage, or what level it is, plus the AP damage to it of magic damage, and the enemy champion that it landed on will be stunned for between 1.5, 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds. Now this skill's brilliant because it can hit more than one enemy champion. Team fights, you want to be careful, because Morgana, she will obliterate if she can get in the middle of those team fights and get off her soul shackles, get it onto all the champions there. They will all be slowed, they will all scatter, and this will just obliterate the team and give you chances to pick them off. Now even if they don't run away, then they'll be stunned by it anyway. So it's just an amazing skill. So next up, I'm going to talk about the kinds of masteries that I take with Morgana. So usually what I take is 9 in offense and 18 in utility. The only reason I only take 18 in utility is because I'm only level 27. But that will increase to 21 as soon as I hit level 30. So what I take usually is Deadliness, just because I don't take Exhaust, so I don't need Cripple, and I don't take Smite, so I don't need Plentiful Bounty. And then that's 1 in Deadliness, and 3 in Archmage Savvy. That's to increase my AP per level. I take 4 in Sorcery, obviously to decrease champion cooldowns. Morgana has a high cooldown on a lot of her skills. So the less you can get it down to, the better. And then 1 into archaic knowledge, so that I get even more spell penetration. That's it for offense. Next across is I take spatial accuracy, 1 in good hands, and 3 in perseverance. Now you might think, well, why would you take 5 in the top tier, top row? Well, to be honest, I used to take 1 into clarity, into insight, but then I found out really clarity isn't that great eventually. It's good for the starter game, but eventually it just becomes kind of redundant and not needed. So I swapped it out for teleport, but I'll go into that later. Next up, I took 4 in awareness. Now you can either swap this out for expanded mind for more mana, but because you'll be soloing mid a lot of the time, then you will want that extra 5% into your experience gain. But either way it works, it doesn't matter. Next up, I took 1 in greed just to get the points up, and 3 in meditation. This will increase my mana regen, which you do need. You depend on mana regen for quite a bit. Quickness, I took 3 in quickness because blink of an eye, well, I don't take flash. And so base movement speed, it is helpful, I suppose. Next, because I haven't finished my masteries page, because I'm not level 30 yet, I'll just tell you, I would have taken 3 in intelligence, increase my cooldowns, 1 in mystical vision, I'll come to that later, and 1 in presence of the master. This is perfect for Morgana's masteries in my opinion. So next I'm going to talk about my summoner abilities. A lot of people tell you to take clarity and clairvoyance, or would suggest take clarity and clairvoyance. Now I tend to go with things a bit differently. I take flash and clairvoyance. Why don't I take clarity? Well, as I said when I was describing what masteries I take, clarity is useful for about the first maybe 15 minutes. After that, you don't need it so much, and you tend to forget about it more often than not, and so it's a waste. In my opinion, it's a waste. And then putting a point in your masteries just so your allies get more mana. A lot of the time they don't need mana. Like at the start of the game, yeah, sure. At the end of the game, well, no, they don't. So it's a waste. So I take teleport and clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is really helpful to your team, and it's a good asset to have. I don't know, I haven't really found a good replacement for clairvoyance yet, but I'm still playing around, so that may change a bit, but it's very unlikely. And then teleport's just so you can move around a bit quicker, because Morgana is helpful. She can use teleport and make a difference in team fights and such, but if you can't get there quick enough, then you're just not going to do anything. So that's why I take teleport and clairvoyance. I guess I should do a bit on rune pages. I mean, I'm not the best for runes, and I don't know exactly what you should take, but in my personal opinion, I usually take runes for cooldown, extra AP, or AP spell penetration. Sometimes it's handy to take for a bit of extra health, but not very often, so it's best to play around with them. I know there are guides which tell you what you should take, but usually it's best if you pick your runes despite to suit your playstyle. So that's about as much as I can give you for rune pages. I hope it helps. Okay, so now that we're done with the champion selection, masteries, rune pages, summoner abilities, I will move on to what build and items you should take. Now, what items you should take will depend on if you're taking solo, mid, or if you're laning with someone, how many kills you're getting, if you're dying a lot. But I think I've sort of come up with a good guide, a good build, which I use, and I do switch some items out, but that's for you to play with. But here's a generally okay guide for what you should take. So I'm going to explain why I take these items and what order I take them. So first off, if I'm going solo mid, then I will take a Doran's Ring. The reason I take a Doran's Ring is because it gives you extra health, extra AP, and mana regen, which is great if you're taking mid, and you need the mana regen, and the AP is just a nice little bonus. But what I tend to do is if I'm laning with someone on top or bottom, then I will take the mana manipulator, because not only does it give me a mana regen and slightly higher than what I would be getting from the Doran's Ring, but it also gives my fellow ally mana regen as well. Now, I'm not saying that you should always take the mana manipulator if you're going with someone else, because that champion may not need mana. So if they're not a mana dependent, like heavy mana dependent champion, don't take it. Take something else. Take a Doran's Ring, or take I don't know, Mechie Pendant, no, something like that. Take something else, but I'd suggest a Doran's Ring. So second up in the build, I'd take Sorcerer's Shoes, and I usually tend to go for a full buyout because I usually stay in the lane long enough to be able to afford this. There's a bit of a option here. I didn't put it in my guide because you don't always need it. It's not always helpful. But the reason I take Sorcerer's Shoes is obviously for the magic pen, and they're good. But also, if you're still having quite high cooldowns, you could always take the Ionian boots, because you're still getting magic pen further on in the build. But it depends. If you have champions who are building AP because, I don't know, say AP defense, magic resist, because you've got like Annie on your team or someone like that, then magic pen, great, helpful. If you haven't, like, you don't really need the magic pen, take Ionian boot. It's very handy. So, third in the build, now it branches into two again. You can either take a Magi Soul Stealer or the Relic Book. I forget what this thing's called. I always forget what this one's called. So, no, forget that, scrap that. It's called the Will of the Ancients. That's, I think, or Book of the Ancients. Anyway, either one or the other, because Magi Soul Stealer is very. If you're doing well, if you're getting a lot of kills, a lot of assists, great, take it. It gives you cooldowns if you can get to 20 stacks, it gives you a lot of AP. But if you're not doing so hot, if you're not getting so many kills, then take the Will of the Ancients, Book of the Ancients, because it will give you Spell Vamp, AP, and it's an aura, I think, which will give your allied champs that as well. People usually say to me, well, why do you take that? Why do you need Spell Vamp? Well, let me tell you why. When you have 35% Spell Vamp, if you're doing a lot of damage, it's great, it's amazing, you get a lot of health back. If you have 60%, I believe it is, Spell Vamp, you get a lot more, and it's a lot quicker. You're not really hurting your AP intake by taking the Will of the Ancients, you're actually increasing your survivability, if anything. And your Snare, you can get, 400 HP back from that at final build. You can get more than that. And I don't know, people don't agree with that, but that's how I build it, and I tend to come out pretty well. So it's up to you, but okay. Next along is the Void Staff. Now, this is what I was talking about when it comes to Magic Pen. This thing gives quite a lot of AP and also Magic Pen. You don't need to get the Magic Pen, it's handy, but it's probably a lot better than the boots, but it also gives a lot of AP, which is why I tend to take it, and it's a bit different for the build, but you know, it's all down to who you're playing against. You may not need that magic penetration, so you may want to get another Rabadon's Death Cap or something different, but this is my build. Okay, so next up is Rabadon's Death Cap. Now that's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of AP. The passive for an extra percentage of AP is brilliant, great. You may think, why AP Morgana, but she can deal a lot of damage, trust me. And then next up is the book thingy, which is what I'm going to call it now because I can't remember its name again. It's some really weird name. It's an evil tome. But what it does is it gives you percentage 20% cooldown, I believe, and a lot of AP, 70, 75, and 12 mana per every 5 seconds. Great. It's just amazing. It's a good final item for your build, I believe. I've done a lot of playing around with builds for Morgana. Like once I went full spell vamp. That was great, but it wasn't really damaging or anything. Just never died. I've done a lot of playing around, and this is the final build that I came up with, and it's great for survivability and damage. You should, with Morgana, using this build, you can at best go. I think I've went 20 and 0 once with this build against PvP. I carried my team as Morgana. Now that's unheard of a lot of the time, but a lot of the time you won't die more than 3 times a game if you play well. So yeah, this is my build, and I hope you like it. Well, pretty good, I'd say. So I've talked a little bit about skills, but I've not really shown any off. I've just gave you pictures. So here's a couple videos showing off Morgana's skills and how to utilise them properly. So with Snare has a lot of damage. Her Dark Binding has a lot of damage and a huge range, as you can probably see. The thing about Snare is that it can hit minions and it's quite slow at travelling. It travels slowly to its target, and so it can be easy to avoid and also easy to detect that it's coming. So generally what you want to do is aim to make it so that you're not obviously moving around the minions, so you can maneuver into snare position, and try and keep yourself behind the minions if you can. It's very unlikely that you can as Morgana, but if you can keep behind the enemy minions, they are not going to come out from their turret. They are not going to move. So if you can possibly keep yourself, if you can't do that, then keep them from hiding behind their minions. If they don't know how to counter or play Morgana, great, they won't hide behind their minions as much. Eventually they'll pick it up, but you can snag an easy first blood this way. Now, the same goes for if you're playing against Morgana. Basically hide behind your minions so she can't snare you. It's as simple as that. Next up is Tormented Soil. Now this is a great skill for placing in between packs of minions. So what you'll do is you'll place it between the wizard and the physical damage minions. Usually you'll get damage on both of them, and it's great for farming, especially if you get your AP up. Another great thing about this is that you can place down your snare. If you do it right, you can place down your Tormented Soil and snare your enemy in the Tormented Soil. You'll get a lot of damage off that way. If you can't, then snare them first, then place your Tormented Soil. Great combo, always works. So next is her Dark Shield, her Black Shield. So this isn't a damaging skill, so what you do with this is you lure your enemy into a false sense of confidence. So if you're playing against Annie, for example, when she got her stun up, she will walk towards you. She's usually very predictable when she goes to stun you, so she'll walk around the edge. You won't move, or you'll move towards her to attack her. Quickly you'll whack on your Black Shield, you'll snare her, you'll soil her. Great, you've done more than what she's done. She's probably not even scratched you because your Magic Shield, your Black Shield, it's always going to work. It's always going to counter those mages perfectly. You can't really do anything about it unless you wait for it to wear off. It's great for helping your allies as well. Like in team fights, you place it on whoever's getting focused, if they have AP carries or anything like that, and it's going to save them. It's going to save them a bit of health. It may save them from death. So lastly is her ultimate. Soul Shackles, like the best tips I can give you for this is get yourself into the middle of the team fight. Get yourself right in the middle. A lot of the time you may start to get focused, but with the spell vamp you should be okay. Like your health will come back, because what you'll do is they'll start hitting you, you'll whack Soul Shackle off. If you get it on 5 of them, you're going to get so much health back, probably full, if you can survive for the 4 seconds. what's going to happen? You're going to get all your health back, and then they'll be stunned. So if you need to retreat, you can retreat and leave it to your team. I don't suggest it, because you can probably get your health back with your snare and tormented soil anyway. But that's actually, I don't know, like early game, another tip for soul shackles is what you do is your snare, tormented, well, black shield if you're playing against a mage or a CC kind of character, then you'll snare, then you'll soil them, and then if they're still not dead, you'll use soul shackles, great, then you'll carry on. You'll hopefully last for the 4 seconds and keep the soul shackle on them because it's a 600 range, remember, and if you can keep them in it, they'll get stunned. You'll place tormented soil under them, and hopefully by that time, if you have enough cooldown reduction, you will have your snare back. Wow, that's an infinite loop. Well, it's not an infinite loop, it's probably about 15 second snare you got there. You know, it's a brilliant combo. So those are some of my tips for abilities, and I hope you utilise them well, and I hope to see some more good playing Morgana, and I wish you best of luck. Thanks for watching my guide.